Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I know that the election results have been huge and have, in a lot of ways, overshadowed the rest of our lives, especially today. I did notice from my in-person classes that, particularly for people who are very devoted progressives, which I tend to get a lot of in women's studies, that this was a really heartbreaking and difficult loss. Um, I do want to say, of course, I wasn't allowed to tell you who I was voting for explicitly or campaign before the election, but I think probably most of you guessed I'm pretty open about my politics, that I'm a progressive, and I was originally supported Bernie Sanders. Not hard to guess. But, I do want to say that I still think, regardless of the outcome, that even with a Democrat in office, progressives would have had a lot of work to do, a lot of protesting to keep protecting the environment, to try to protect the world from war. There's a lot of, as we've seen, there can still be a lot of problems, even when you have an allegedly progressive administration. And so this doesn't necessarily spell, a complete change in that. I would say that regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, you still have a job to do. You still need to do your civic duty. You still need to be writing to your senators and congresspeople and exercising your right to protest, exercising your right to speak out. Because no candidate is going to ever represent anybody perfectly. And it is our job to make sure that our voices are heard, and that we're really informed about what's happening politically. And so that's kind of all I wanted to say on the election. I think we might all be a little bit worn out of it. But I do also welcome you to join us on the discussion boards. I have asked you to specifically discuss girls' experiences in school, both Muslim girls in France experience in school and Black girls in the US experience in school. But then there's also a space where we're talking about Black Lives Matter and the counter movement, All Lives Matter, and what role that played in the election. So if you have more to say about the election, please please share with the group, or even if you have more thoughts that don't really fit, you're welcome to bring them up in the Cyber Cafe. That's also a place for intellectual discussion, right? But I do want to show you, because we have midterms this Friday, I want to make sure that everyone has some basic background in terms of citation. From what I've been seeing, it looks pretty good from many of you on the discussion boards, but I do want to make sure that you have some resources. So this is the FRCC webpage, and if you go to campuses and libraries, there's an assortment of resources to help you through citation. I know I hear from a lot of people that either it was unfamiliar, they didn't do it in high school, or that maybe they did in high school, but high school was 30 years ago, and it's difficult to remember what all the conventions are. So right here, if you check for citation assistance, you're going to get citation guides for 3 different styles. And those are the 3 big styles that that you might be required to use in college. MLA, Modern Language Association, APA, American Psychological Association, and Chicago. Now, in my class, any of these 3 is completely acceptable. I actually want you to invest your time in learning how to do one style well, and I think you should choose the style that you are going to need most for your major or for your discipline. If you're majoring in the arts or humanities, you're probably going to find that MLA is the most useful thing for you to learn. If you are trending towards human services, education, or obviously psychology, you want to use APA. Anyone who is thinking about majoring in history should use Chicago. I would say Chicago is probably less common, but it's the style that I used for my dissertation. So if you have questions about Chicago, please let me know. Now, there's 2 pieces to every citation. The first piece is the in-text citation, and the second piece is the bibliography at the end. And so I'm just clicking in MLA. We'll work on MLA for now, but know that they all have the same basic logic, the same basic information that needs to be included, the same reasons why you would do it, because you need to be able to, because another reader needs to be able to find what you've referenced by you're giving them the date, publisher, all the information that they could possibly need to find in the library. The differences are things like commas, whether there's a P in the page number, sometimes the order of certain pieces of information. But the differences are really less important than the similarities. So here we have the MLA basic citation sheet. And you see everything's listed by author, title of the journal article, title of the publication, volume, number, year, page numbers. Now, again, this goes through a lot of articles. Remember that a lot of what you're citing might also, so that's the way you would want to do something from Ms., for example. But you also may find yourself citing books, okay? So this is the convention for books. Books are actually pretty easy because you simply italicize the timeline, you italicize the title, and then you have your publication information. And this has books with 2 authors, reprinted works in anthology, all kinds of different types of articles that you might want to reference. Now, if we go back to the main though, I also want to point out to you that those conventions are all for your bibliography at the end. Throughout your paper, you want to be using parenthetical citations. So over the course, and this is a really good example right here, over the course of the paper, right, you may quote things or summarize ideas. Anytime you quote directly from another source or you summarize the main idea of a source, there needs to be a parenthetical citation. And the parenthetical citation includes the author's last name and the page number. Depending on the citation, so Chicago and APA style citations also ask for a year. MLA just wants the page number. So those are the kinds of things that can vary. But what this really is this is just the shorthand or the key back to your bibliography. So you'll write here in the example, rationalistic supernaturalism relates to the first of 4 stages of doubt, Watson, page 519. And then at the end in the bibliography, you would have this total entry. That way we know what Watson refers to. So every citation has 2 pieces to it. The in-text citation and then the bibliography. Now this sheet has a variety of ways to do the in-text citation in MLA. Again, this is MLA style. APA style has slightly different conventions in that it will include a year, and same thing with Chicago. So please pick one style and be consistent. But the most important part is that anytime you quote or summarize, you include this, and that you also remember to put it in the end in your full citation of the bibliography, because that's really this simply references your bibliography. Your bibliography is the full citation to help me find whatever, or any reader that you have, find whatever you've been looking for. And I know that in our online space, we can do some really cool things with embedding links and stuff like that. And while that is awesome, for an academic paper, you still need to be able to know these citations, because not everything is online and not everything has a link. So again, I just want to bring your attention that APA is down here, so APA parenthetical in-text citations. Okay, you can see same example, but Watson, 2005. Now, APA is a little bit strange on whether or not there are page numbers. I would draw your attention down here, and I would say that anytime you're quoting, it's always better to use a page number and be more specific than to not use a page number and have turned out to need it. So page numbers always err on the side of caution. And you'll see that they have this, that they also include the year. Now, the other difference, and again, you'll see how small the differences are, really it has more in common than anything else. When we go to the full bibliography in APA, you'll see, so some of the differences are that you don't include the whole first name of the person. There's a parentheses in the year and it's in a different spot. Rather than quotation marks, the title of an article is simply sort of plain text, and then italicized the journal title. It's, again, some different conventions on how you would list the volume and the number and the pages. But really, these citations have much more in common than they do different. So APA, great. MLA, great. Chicago, great. If you need help on any of them, please contact me. I do expect for there to be in-text citations in your final, in your midterm. I'm a little bit ahead of myself here. For there to be in-text citations in your midterm and for it to include a complete bibliography. And some of you have been doing this already in the discussion posts. So please, once again, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck with the midterm. It does ask you to be creative and have a little bit of fun with it, so I hope that you can do that, and I hope that injecting a little bit of optimism into your week is ultimately beneficial for everyone. I will see you on the discussion boards.